tightly tuned vocal thirds. Supposedly that's a British Isles thing, while the French were getting hard on fifths and fourths. The early polyphonic and music in England was obsessed with thirds. German music, oh man, that shit is loaded. Is that my tradition? I guess. Preferring to sing in Italian is also my tradition. Borrowing something from a culture you find more interesting than your own is also my tradition. Asshole superiority in a music culture is my tradition. Great. Old ideas of tuning, yes. Old non-ideas of tuning, yes. Old disregard for tuning, yes. Old complications.
Hi everyone, my name is Maya Fortune and I'm with Tribeca New Music. I'm here today with Paul Pinto, who's part of thingNY, who will be performing on October 16th at Merkin Hall. So excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for saying hi.
Of course. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Your bio says you're a writer, a composer, a dabbler. I want to know, what's your journey been as an artist?
Yeah, it's dabbler's big because right now I'm in the middle of a video shoot, and it's like stuff that didn't go to school for, but I just like fell in love with, and so I'm into just doing whatever the project calls for. So it's a lot of video, some animation, a lot of design, but yeah, primarily I guess I identify as a composer and writer. And I play percussion and I sing. So for Thing and Y, which is like musicians that are interested in hybrid art forms, including opera and installation. It's just like it's a great band to have peers that are also interested in dabbling and hybrid work. I came up as a composer and vocalist, and I've moved into writing and directing and video editing and all those kind of things inform my practice. And yeah, a lot of other Thing and Why members also do writing and producing and multi-instrumentalists. It's just kind of like a hybrid ensemble.
Great. And did you have like a traditional path at first that you deviated from, or at the beginning where you just invested in sponging everything up and learning
No,
everything?
no, I mean sponging happens accidentally. It's kind of like what did we want to do? What did the people in the room want to do? And so, some of that was like a chamber concert because that was kind of the mode that we learned in school of like assembling 5 to 6 people to just do a concert and rent a hall and like get an audience to do it. But we found the composers we were interested in championing and our own work was moving towards or was always informed by a kind of like hybrid way of working, theater, music theater, installation, opera. Um, and so we kind of just went in the direction that any one of our members wanted to go in. For me, that's so many different paths, and every collaborator and every new project informs a special new direction that or a new set of skills that I can take to the next project.
Absolutely. That's so cool. I love the collaborative aspect. I mean, it's the essential part of it, right?
It's key. It's also like learning, right? Like
Yeah.
we're each other's teachers. And Thing and Y has been like a long experiment in how we teach each other to work in forms we're interested in.
Is there a specific technique or something that you've recently learned from another member of thingNY?
I'll just name one thing that's like really important to how we started to work together and collaborate together and co-write work together is we would do etudes of like, just try this. Let's do your 1 minute perfect opera. Write it and it's homework, and next week we'll come back and like put it up. Or writing prompts and Google, like even just like Google Docs. Google Docs might be like the single most important technology to have to come across any of our lives, just because collaboration has been made so easy. Um, like someone can like finish writing their libretto pages on the train, on their phone, on the way to rehearsal. So there's like that kind of like we're always learning tiny tricks to help us collaborate better, and it hopefully it informs our individual process, artistic process as well.
I don't know how anyone edited before Google Docs
Right?
because it is just such a game changer.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's yeah. People ask like, what? Because I sometimes get like tech residencies, or like I'm the least tech person that gets tech residencies, but I use technology in my in a lot of my work, and like some of that technology is not like cutting edge technology. It's just using more than using more tools than I made myself, right? So some of that's like open source software or uh, stuff that everyone has on their phones already. Um, so in that way, like using and finding, stretching out the uses of the tech we already have with us is like really interesting to me as an artist.
Do you think that defines a lot of your compositions, or is it just a theme that has popped up?
I think yeah, sure. I mean, even just like I worked in I'm working a lot in sound walks, in geolocation sound walks. And that was because like I knew a guy who made geolocation software. I just knew he created this app, and I like dug into it, and now I use it for a lot of projects. Um and does it inform the, yeah, yeah, the technology absolutely informs the art making. I even think about it like thinking so simply as like the way classical musicians use scores, like traditional notation score, right? That's a technology. It's not like a given that that is the best way to communicate music, right? But we have adapted it. And so there's a certain shorthand that a certain type of musician will understand and will help get to the thing that you're envisioning by traditional Western notation, right? So, yeah, absolutely. Other technologies like graphic scores, in-ear scores, video scores are all, yeah, the artwork kind of gets informed in a way of by a method of transmission. I think for me, it might not be for every artist, but I definitely think about in what way can I transmit this to other performers, and that helps inform what's possible. And it also it asks a lot of questions like, is that possible to do without a timer or without a score? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of the more generic idea of music just being another language and having to understand it, and how technology is also different forms of it is also a new language that people have to learn.
It also comes, like you had mentioned, like does it enter into like big themes? And translation is a big theme in some of the work that I do. And even just thinking about like, music notation as a language versus in-ear monitors, a performer transmitting, translating what they're getting on the page to something that is visceral and live and connects with people. That act of translation, like, is a theme that I'm interested in, whether it's literally translating from one language to another, a vocalist translating from Spanish to English or English to Portuguese or whatever, um, or if it's translating a technology into a visceral way that we like connect. That's like that's so interesting to me. And I think like also like thinking about there's a line in Jerome's piece, I wonder if this ground has anything to say, that is because it deals specifically with treaties, um, there's a part that mentions that these treaties, for the most part, were communicated in languages that the people who were signing these treaties didn't speak or didn't read.
Right.
It's kind of and it that is like in that's like foundational to American to the American founding. Like the idea that the Spaniards, when they came to this country, were required to read something in Spanish out loud as a way, as a gesture of good faith. But like no one knew what they were saying. So this directly carries into the colonialism in how the American government dealt with Native peoples, right? Like, and
Yeah.
continues to deal with them. Treaties were written in languages that more than half of the people that it applied to didn't speak or read. I think it's like, first of all, it's like, it's insane, right? Like, it's just an insane thing to think that a human does this, right? But it's also looking at it through the lens of history. There's a certain, like, of course, which is like also insane that we should think that this was like a behavior that now can be like put in a history book and closed and be like, well, we don't do it that way. It actually like continues to resonate in the way that we connect with people and the way that we disconnect with people. Like this is foundational to our way of like dealing with conflict.
So tell us about this world premiere that thingNY is doing with Jerome Kitzke on October 16th.
Yeah.
What
It's a
called?
long time coming. We have known Jerome for so many years and love the way that Jerome, as a performer, composer, interpreter of text, um, wild, like pianist. I would just kind of love his mode of creation and the way that like he thinks of musical theater from the standpoint of a lot like instrumentalists, like asking instrumentalists to be activated and engaged vocal theatrical performers. So the marriage is like it just makes so much sense with what Jerome writes and how thingNY thinks of performance. So we commissioned this piece many years ago. So the thing that he spent years and years researching and investigating was these treaties, these 300 plus treaties between the mostly the U.S. government, but also some of the European monarchies, um, between them and the American Indians, and using the languages of the treaties, the wording of the treaties, which is colonial wording, as the libretto. Um, so he came up with these 24 scenes um, that take the language of these treaties and explores them, illuminates them. He calls it a treaty illumination. There's one incredible section where it's just the first word or two of hundreds of treaties. Whereas, for, as to, right? Like it's just this repetition of this reminder of how we use the same words over and over again to reflect the same, but like then they lose their specificity because they're just like whereas. So it's a beautiful moment in this piece. I just went to a detail, but the larger idea of the work, sorry, there's seven instrumentalists, vocalists, performers that are also drummers. And it's 24 movement work, about an hour long. And it goes from the loud, visceral drum corps. It has at that extreme, and it also has these moments of intimate beauty, single vocal line, very exposed. So it's really beautiful, really dynamic, and we just kind of it like feeds our need to be theatrical. It feeds our need to tell these stories in a uh, dynamic way. Uh, he's just like an excellent composer.
That is so exciting. I'm so excited to see it in person. Since we've talked about learning and collaborating and translation, like what have you learned from this piece? Or what have you had to sort of finagle with to try and understand and translate the work into something that you can really feel?
Yeah, I mean, just even the dramaturgy of like, there's so many place names. There are certain sections that are very clear, like this text here is from the Haudenosaunee, a response from the Haudenosaunee, uh, or or from the Seneca, or from there's a passage from Vine Deloria. Um, there's a segment from Richard Nixon. There's excerpts from people that we can actually point to, like Senator Daniel Inouye of Hawaii. Um, and there's like actual language from Senate joint resolutions, and but there's also listing of places, names, treaties that we had to like actually do a deep dive. Wait, wh where are we referring to? Is this where this tribe used to live, or where they relocated, right? Where they were forced out. Like we had to actually understand some of the dramaturgy and the timeline of when these things took place. So there's a lot of just like individual going through it and being like, this date, this happened then, this is the order of events, this is these are the peoples involved, these are the people who signed the treaty. There's an incredible section of the score where we're like, how do we pronounce this? Like it just has a bunch of X's. Are they like hits or something? They're like, no, no, you just say X X X X X X X, right? We're like, what what is that? And Jerome's like, those are the signatures. Those are like the people who didn't sign names. They just signed X's. We're like, oh my gosh. Like just like the there's all these little things that we're finding in the score that with a deep dive, we wouldn't know it right away. So we have to actually have conversations in the room. Uh, um, we have to have dramaturgical conversations in the room to really like enlighten them, to like really illuminate them for us so that we can be better performers.
Wow, that's so cool. I feel like the process is even more exciting than the performance sometimes. Well, something that we always ask is what advice do you have for up and coming dabblers?
Man, advice is so hard because
It really is.
it's I don't I spend a lot of time not really knowing what I'm doing. I don't think that's the case for everyone. Some people are very clear, especially people who teach. They're like very clear educators of like, here's what I learned and here's how I can demonstrate. I'm not an educator, so I don't have that. But I will say the one thing that I try to remember is that it's new it's new to somebody, right? So even if it's new to me right now, that's cool. I can learn it. I cannot be good at it right away. I could take time to like explore it, get it in a place that when I bring it to stage, it's new for the audience. So yeah, being behind the scenes is really interesting to like absorb all this stuff and to like get to know the process. But at the end, I'm presenting it for people whose first time it's going to be their first time interacting with this work, and to kind of respect that and trust that I can be in my head a little bit about mistakes. I can be in my head about all the work I did to lead up to this performance, all the work I did, right? But at the end of the day, I'm sharing this work with an audience. And so it's for them, a lot of them, their first time. So just giving that respect and also care uh, of newness and something feeling new and something feeling uncomfortable and something feeling like it will challenge me. Um, that I'm not alone in that. That my comrades in the ensemble are also feeling that, that the audience is going to feel that, and that's special and cool, and that's why we do live performance.
I really like that. Thank you so much for speaking with me today. I'm super excited to see you and the rest of thingNY on October 16th at Merkin Hall, 7:30, for the world premiere of I Wonder If This Ground Has Anything to Say, a Treaty Illumination.
Sing with Sandy and lilt like words, inextricably combined in poetry is music, and music is jokes, and music is context, and music is nature, and music is sighs, and music is greetings, and music is sorrow, and music is involuntary. And I will always be an outsider to the music, and yet I will always love the music with tears in my